Hello everyone, myself Komal. So me, Destiny and Tuyet, we are here to present important development in Rome, which was the largest religious and cultural center in Italy. Rome, also known as Roma, is the capital city of Italy as well as the capital city of Lazio region. It has been a major human settlement for almost 3 millennia. It is located in the central western portion of the Indian peninsula on the Tiber River, about 15 miles inland from the Tyrrhenian Sea. Some architecture is calm, rational, and geometric, but in Rome, beginning in the late 16th century, a style developed that was none of those things. It distorted building elements to heighten light and shadow and had curving wavy walls. Developed with strong connections to the Catholic Church, the style became known as Baroque architecture. It was originally a small town on the banks of the Tiber River and situated on 7 hills. Rome grew in size and strength early on through trade. These are two important maps in the history of Rome. Map on the left side represents the antique map of Rome, and on the right side is the famous Noli map, which is useful for rooted information that it contains regarding 18th century Rome.
On this very slide, I will be discussing about the when and where of this Baroque painting. Yeah, actually Baroque began around 1600 in Rome, Italy, and spread throughout the majority of Europe during the 17th and 18th centuries. Though the term was believed to have derived from an Italian word known as Barocco, which simply means an irregularly shaped bell. On this slide, I will be discussing about the historic background and the physical features of this unique painting known as Baroque artistry. Uh, Actually, some of the features of this unique painting is that it is seen and perceived as a very brilliant and a colorful artistry. Yeah, uh, Again, it portrays an emotional intensity to whoever sees it because it was so unique and so beautiful. Actually, Baroque again mingled with what was real and
In the late 15th century, Pope Sixtus V had restored the aqueducts, built new roads and the Vatican Library, completed St. Peter's Dome, built new squares, re-erected obelisks, restored fountains, and so by the 1600th century, Rome's population rose to more than 100,000 people. In the 1700s, Rome was overrun by 323 churches. They served a population of 150,000 people. It was a time highly influenced by the papacy, noble families seeking high positions in the church through corruption and bribery, which ultimately led to the decline in the papal empire. 18th century Rome still had inadequately paved streets that lacked road signs and public lighting, with little sanitation. St. Peter's Basilica is the burial site of St. Peter, one of Jesus' apostles and the first bishop of Rome. The new basilica was designed by Bramante in 1503, and then redesigned by Michelangelo in 1546, and then later Bernini in 1624. If you just look at the basilica, it is a high Renaissance church that stands alone. However, in 1624, Bernini designed St. Peter's Square through the injection of complex geometries, which activated the church, allowing the space to move out and open to the spectator. The geometry of the square is no longer that of the High Renaissance of squares and circles, but dynamic shapes of ellipses and trapezoids of the Baroque period. In fact, the design of the colonnades opens up itself to the city of Rome and acts as a transitional space between the secular space of the city and the spiritual space of the church. When looking back at the floor plan, the space really moves out and embraces you, literally. So essentially, Bernini had envisaged the two arms of God enfolding the faithful. This is particularly critical to the time because it was the Baroque papacy period. The artistry, architectural grandeur, and sheer mass of the basilica reaffirmed the status of Rome as a spiritual, if not temporal, home of Christianity. The most impressive aspect about this planning was the 140 statues that flanked the square on top of the 16-meter-high columns arranged in 4 rows made of travertine stone that was transported 30 kilometers from Tivoli. Each statue is approximately 3.1 meters high. Many of the statues created. I'd just like to quickly mention the painting The Triumph of Divine Providence by Pietro da Cortona. that fills the ceiling of Palazzo Barberini in Rome. It pays homage to some of the most accomplished Baroque painting and is a celebration of the Pope's family and life.
Thanks, Tuyet and Destiny. Now I will discuss about some architectural characteristics of Baroque Rome. Baroque architecture rose during a period of transition for the Roman Catholic Church. This was following a crisis called the Protestant Reformation, which was when the Protestants broke away from the Catholics and created their own versions of Christianity. The Baroque played into the demand for an architecture that was on the one hand more accessible to the emotions and on the other hand a visible statement of the wealth and power of the church. Long, narrow naves are replaced by broader, occasionally circular forms. Dramatic use of light, either strong light and shade contrast, chiaroscuro effects, or uniform lighting by means of several windows, opulent use of ornaments, large-scale ceiling frescoes, are some characteristics of Baroque architecture. The external facade is often characterized by a dramatic central projection. The interior is often no more than a shell for painting and sculpture. Finally, these are some references and thanks for seeing our presentation. Thank you.